about residency in Spain. There's been some changes, and let's go through this quickly, since I think this all started happening in February. Before, you just needed 5,000 euros in the bank, health insurance, and if you bought a house, you can bypass the other bits and pieces. Generally, if you've got money in Spain, they weren't bothered. It was very easy to get into Spain. Since about February, things have started to change. They want you to be self-employed. Well, there's three things they want, which is one, self-employment, which is called autonomo. The other one is a pension and the ability to show that pension. There's certain amounts related to that, or the self-employment, or being a student. Those were the four things that they mentioned. Now, being self-employed, you don't need health insurance, because when you're a self-employed person, because you're making contributions, your health insurance covered, schools covered for the kids, etc., etc. But they want 3 months documents. So they want to see 3 months bank statements, 3 months money, where it's coming from, invoicing, etc., from the tax office, because after 3 months the tax office will rubber stamp to say that you've paid your tax contributions, and also social security contributions. It runs in at, I believe, 20% for the tax contributions on every invoice. I think the teaching English is one of the few that doesn't actually charge tax. I don't think you're legally allowed to charge tax for it. But one of the ones that, social security, it starts off at about 60 euros a month, and then it steadily goes up every, I think it's for the first 6 months it's 60 euros, then it goes up to a higher rate, and eventually ends up at the national rate, which is about 240, 260 euros. For me, I don't mind paying the 240 or whatever it is later on, but right now I need my residency, otherwise I don't see why I should be paying any of it, because it's a lot of money for nothing. But the point is, they want to see the bank statements, they want to see the social security payments, they want to see the tax payments. If you don't have that, somebody has just had theirs processed in another area, and they only set up their autonomo a month ago, but it says show me 8,000 euros in your bank and we'll give you residency. Torveja never said that to me at all. I had 16,000 in the bank, and he was going, oh, I'll go and get an autonomo and come back in 3 months. Hey, different areas, local issues. It's pretty common. Some areas are a lot easier to deal with. If you're going to live here as a pensioner or whatever, and you're EU, you can transfer your contributions in the UK, and I think it's on the form S1, which will carry your health insurance across. So you wouldn't need that health insurance if you can actually prove that you've transferred your health insurance already. Because your EHIC, European Health Insurance Card, is not for use in Spain. If you're living here, you're no longer a tourist. EHIC is for tourism. The UK is clamping down on this. As such, Spain are feeling the pressure. One of the private hospitals here has had to reduce its staff, which tells you there must have been some serious abuse going on previously. Autonomo has got pretty strict because there's been a lot of dummy companies where you pay a company 300 euros a month, and what's happening is they give you false papers to say that you're employed with the company, etc. And then you just go down there and go, there you go, I'm employed, etc. Oh, sorry, that's not autonomo, that's actually an employment contract. That's the other one that's important. If you're employed, then you just take your employment contract down, and your health insurance and everything is covered, because obviously you've been making a contribution to the tax system. But as self-employed, you've got to show it all yourself. Working for somebody else, it's all in your pay slip. Let them sort that mess out. But there was a lot of dummy companies. They were basically setting them up. You pay them 300 a month, and they will give you a receipt to say, there's your pay slip, there's this. You take it down, get residency, no problems. But what's happened is the Spanish government's realised it's getting robbed of millions of euros. So this is why everything's a lot stricter now. There's different incomes based on family size. For a family of 4, it's coming in at €1,333, roughly 1,400 euros. For a couple, it's less. I recommend researching it because I don't know where they got the figures from, and I do think there's a bit of play in there, because you might have different areas ask for different amounts because they do, not because they should do, but because they do. So if you think Spain's an easy option just to move here and do the paperwork, it's got a little bit harder. If you've got a pension, you're still going to have to show that you have enough to live here. What amounts on that? I would recommend getting in touch with your local foreigners office or a gestor that actually knows what they're doing. A gestor is somebody that's basically a fixer. They'll fix all your paperwork for you. They'll send over your forms, fill that in, and then they'll process this stuff and go with you. One thing I will say is be wary of a lot of them, because they're absolute cowboys. Because doesn't seem to be any legislation on it. I've been lied to. Some people have told me they're lawyers. They're not. In fact, if anything, they're incompetent. That's the only thing I could actually say that would actually be true to anything they've said. Incompetence is pretty much the only thing I've managed to achieve from them. Or they provided an expensive incompetence service. But the whole point being is be aware there's not a lot of legislation around these people. So you need to ask around for other people to say, John, do you know who's good at processing these? And, oh, Mike had his done last month. Mike, who did yours? Oh, whoever. Oh, they were very good, blah, blah, blah. They did it all for me and it only cost me this. That's what you want. The big problem I've had is a lot of them are absolute rogues. So you just have to be very careful. Because they just want the money every month. Because when you do an autonomo, they want a monthly payment. And then if they go with you, they want another 140 euros or whatever. They just after money left, right and centre for doing as little as possible. I detest people like that. I really do. They get on my skin. But please be aware that rules have changed, and do a bit of research, because although I've given you this today, it might change next month. Thanks for watching.